Name. They had simply spread some rumors through their spies to encourage such an occurrence. This incident had to be treated as a foolish noble running wild. In this way, even if the Empire's involvement were revealed, Ainz Ulgaun's hostility would be directed to the manipulated Count, and Jerknif could instead build a friendly relationship with him. Naturally, the kingdom's adventurers will invade the lair of Ainz Ulgaun, who responds to intrusions with deadly force. What sort of response will a powerful magic caster make against the kingdom? And what will the kingdom do when it is attacked? I do look forward to it, Jerknif laughed. Then, just in case, he asked, I already know the power of Ainz Ulgaun. He can easily eliminate worker teams. This matter ought to be neatly handled and taken care of by offering up the head of a single foolish noble. But of course, we have taken great pains to handle this, and only the people here know the truth. Good. But just in case, what was that? A tremor interrupted Jerkniv's words. The windows in the room and furniture rattled. However, it did not seem to be an earthquake. It was more like a single great shaking caused by some massive entity crashing into the ground. What happened? Hurry up and check, what's this ruckus about? What's going on? The wails Jerknif heard were not just from inside the room, but outside as well. The walls of this room were thick and sturdy. In that case, just how loudly were the people outside screaming? What had brought about this screaming, the least suitable sound for this place? One of his vassals looked at the courtyard from whence the screaming came, and after examining the situation, his face turned pale as he answered Jerkniv's question. Your Majesty. A dragon. A dragon has landed in the courtyard. For a brief moment, a wave of stupefaction passed through the room. Nobody could immediately parse the meaning of that sentence. No, they could not understand it. Everyone knew that he could not be lying, yet they all ran to the window to witness it with their own eyes. They practically tore open the heavy curtains. After seeing what lay beyond them, the scene outside the translucent glass window, that of a dragon in the middle of the courtyard, every single one of them was speechless and gaping with their mouths open. Why is there a dragon there? Where did that dragon come from? Foreign Affairs. Which dragon riding boar was scheduled to barge into the courtyard today? I don't know anything about this. Have you seen the Council Alliance's dragons before? Could that be a dragon from the Council Alliance? That dragon doesn't match the description I was given. A diplomat told me, so it ought to be reliable. All that isn't important. Surely the biggest problem is letting the opposition force their way into the Imperial Palace, right? His Majesty is here. What are the Royal Air Guards doing? Dragons possessed powerful bodies sheathed in thick scales, their lifespans vastly exceeded those of mankind, they had all manner of special abilities and magic, and they were the mightiest beings in the world. Of course, dragons' strength varied between individuals, and there were occasional stories of an adventurer defeating a dragon. But throughout the course of history, there were also cities devastated by a wrathful dragon, and sometimes even entire countries. A city in a country from the south had been destroyed by a dragon some 20-odd years ago, and it was still fresh in people's memory. The fact that such a being had appeared in the middle of the Imperial Palace was a grave situation. Even Jerknif held his breath as he surveyed the situation. Just then, he saw two people hop down from the dragon's back. He squinted, and saw that they were two children whose skin had been tanned by the sun. Those ought to be dark elves. Flutter calmly stated the species of those two. Paradine Sama. Where did that dragon come from? And who are those two people? Well, I don't recognize that dragon. The dragon in the courtyard was surrounded by knights, to say nothing of the two people who had just alighted from it. Those knights were the pride of Empire, yet he could not bring himself to put his faith in them when they stood before a dragon. That was the strongest living being for you. A man strode forth from among the knights, a man who carried a shield in each hand. Oi, is he going out there? While it can't be helped, losing him like this would be a shame. The person who had stepped forth was one of the Empire's 4 knights, the immovable Nizami Enek. He was one of the topmost warriors in the kingdom, the most adept of the 4 knights at defensive battles. This warrior might be able to resist many energy attacks, but he seemed awfully insignificant when compared to a dragon. Everyone could only nod in agreement at Lightning Bolt Bazywood Peshmal's prediction of his colleague's fate. Your Majesty, please take shelter. Where can we run? Tell me, where can we find safety? Jerkniv snorted at the suggestion from the minister, who had come to his senses. But I understand what you want to say. But if we abandon the Imperial Palace and run, we will become the butt of jokes. The same applies even if our adversary is a dragon. While it does not look like a dragon of the Council Alliance, if our foe did this while knowing I would not flee, they say dragons are very intelligent. It seems it knows the Empire's political situation very well. Jerkniv could apply pressure to the nobles, because he had the military power of the knights as backing. If the Emperor and his knights quit the Imperial Palace, and fled, because a dragon appeared there, they would certainly make light of the Emperor's military power, and revolt. He did not think he would lose to whatever ragtag bunch of misfits they could scrape together, but it would severely weaken the Empire. Whether we fight or flee, we still lose. What a troublesome move. Where did that dragon come from? Soon, more and more people gathered in the courtyard. There were 40 Imperial Guardsmen surrounding the dragon, and the two people, as well as 60 knights. In addition to that, there were arcane and divine magic casters scattered throughout their number. 120 people will not be enough to deal with them. I think I should go over too, Your Majesty. Jerkniv furrowed his brow slightly. Flutter was the trump card of the Empire. He was not sure whether playing that card against a mighty being like the dragon would do any good. However, he was confident that Flutter could escape even after being pressed into dire straits, and that trust cut through his hesitation. Jerkniv did not know the truth. He did not know that Flutter's offer to go forth was to avoid Jerkniv asking him to retreat with teleportation magic. I'll leave it to you, Gramps. Also, could you ask the immovable to stand down? Understood. However, those people are unfathomable. I feel they are incredibly strong. Please prepare yourself to flee, Your Majesty. With that, Flutter opened the window. He jumped straight out and flew into the sky with a flight spell. Can everyone hear me? I'm a subordinate of Ains Ulgaun Sama, and my name's Orabella Fiora. Just then, an incredibly loud voice echoed through the surroundings. The Emperor of this nation sent a bunch of rude chaps to the great underground tomb of Nazarick, where Ains Sama stays. Ains Sama is very unhappy. So if you don't apologize, we'll wipe this country out. Jerkniv's face twisted. Who had learned this answer, and how? How had he followed the clues back to the truth? He looked around the room. Everyone was staring in shock at the Emperor. The people who understood the doubts in Jerkniv's heart all shook their heads. For starters, we're going to kill all the people here. Mayor. The other dark elf plunged his staff into the surface of the courtyard. In that moment, it was as though a localized earthquake had occurred in the courtyard. It was as though because Jerkniv did not feel the earth move at all. However, the ground still split open around the dragon, and the dark elves, crevasses yawning open in patterns more complex than a spider's web. The knights, the Imperial Guardsmen, the magic casters, apart from the airborne Flutter, everyone was swallowed up by the earth. The dark elf seemed to have skillfully excluded herself and her allies from the effective radius of the attack. She stood there nonchalantly, and once she pulled out her staff, the ground hurriedly put itself back together, just like when the earthquake had occurred. However, since it had come together too quickly, the ground swelled up, following the previous spiderweb pattern, and it became a small hillock. The knights who had been gathered in the courtyard just now had all vanished without a trace. The end had come too suddenly. All right, we killed them all. Now then, for all the humans in this city, I don't know who's the Emperor, so never mind. If the Emperor doesn't show himself right now, we'll destroy this city. Emperor San, please come out now. Your Majesty. The chief minister was trembling, his face deathly pale, as he ushered Jerkniv forward. So they rode a dragon here because we trod on the dragon's tail then? Jerkniv fought to quash the trembling in his voice. The supreme being in the empire, the emperor who held all power in his hand, could not show fear before his subjects. Ains Ulgaun, what manner of man? No, now's not the time to think about that sort of thing. Jerkniv shouted from the window, I am the emperor, Jerkniv Rune Farlord Elnix. I wish to speak with you. May I trouble you fine envoys to enter the palace? He turned to the chief minister, prepare the finest reception for them. Right now. The ministers scrambled out of the room, and Jerkniv's eyes went from their backs to the dark elves, who were looking at him. I underestimated them. If those are just subordinates, don't tell me I can't handle these people. That said, I won't back down here. If they wish to parley, then we shall fight a war of words. Ains Ulgaun, watch as I break your ambitions. Clone. New paste. Few persons can be made to believe that it is not quite